Hello.
Good
How are you?
evening. Well, I'm fine. How about you?
Marvellous, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I have bought a beer. It's not big. I've just got very small hands. No, it's a big bottle of Peroni. Hey.
I've got a longhorn.
I like that. Yeah, liking that.
There's a Mark Wibrow. Is that your person?
It is, unlike because Vaughan George always strode with Wibrow. It used to really annoy me, and I never had the heart to tell, but I just carried on with the merriment of it.
Funny though.
Yeah. But you'd be amazed how many people struggle to spell my name, even though I'm named after, well, a famous SAS author nicked my name.
What, Andy?
No, yeah, no, McNab. I've been called McNib, McNob, McCrad, Randall. Someone introduced me. I went to a meeting.
They're winding you up.
I said, no, seriously, this is a really great evidence of someone not listening. My friend who speaks far louder than me
What?
said, Simon Bright, who Mark knows, and Andy McNab to see Pauline Taylor. This is when I worked in publishing. And this woman literally got on the phone and said, hello, Pauline, I've got a Simon Bright and a Randolph McNish here to see you. I mean, work that one out. What the fuck?
It says more about her than you, to be honest.
Yes.
Hello.
Although since then, a lot of people at work have called me Randolph since, to be honest.
That's it. We like it. That's sticky.
Oh no! I'd like to explain. They'll be going, "Why is he calling him Randolph?"
At this very moment, our hamsters are creating a little graphic reel with Randolph on it.
Evening, guys. Hope you're well.
Hello,
Hey,
Mark.
Mark.
Sorry for waffling.
It's fine.
He's used to it with me.
I've known Andy all my life. I'm just like used to wait for a gap in a conversation.
Have you got a beer with you, Mark, or is that something a bit soft?
No, it's a apple. It's a pear cider.
Oh, very nice.
Oh,
Cheers.
nice.
Cheers.
Almost a pomade.
Isn't that a wee dog?
What?
I must admit.
I watched your interview with Wolfgang.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's good.
It's great. And Mr. Dugal, lovely guy. But
Yeah.
they both are actually lovely, aren't they?
They are, aren't they? I interviewed Wolfgang about 2016, I think it was. I had him over for an event in London, and his lovely wife, and he was great. But I'd forgotten about his sense of humour. Like he has got a really, really wicked sense of humour. The one we're talking about, K9, and he suddenly says doggy style. It's like, all right, mate. All right.
Yeah, also that was Peter's previous band, wasn't it?
What, doggy style?
Or dog.
Oh, doggy was it?
So,
It's just... You expect him to be like Kraftwerk all the time, don't you? And
Yes. I must have. We felt when we met him. I mean, obviously thanks to Pete, because we met Peter before, and I think to be fair to say, he was a little bit not cold, but he was sussing me and Mark out, and then realised actually we were right, and we kind of know what we're talking about, because our very first episode was just me and Mark sitting on my sofa talking about Kraftwerk, and yeah, you're right. As he went on, he became. He has got a wicked sense of humour.
Yeah,
And
this comes out. It's quite funny.
yeah, he is. He's lovely. He's really lovely, and yeah, great guy. As is Peter. I mean, Peter's one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. I think he's just so nice.
Wolfgang was one of the first kind of like big names that we did, and like Andy said, Kraftwerk was like, the first episode we did. Stupidly we did Kraftwerk, and like when we were sitting there and it comes up like Wolfgang Fleur is in the waiting room, we both like looking at each other thinking shit.
Shall we let
I
him
said, God's just arrived.
Yeah, I think we've given Wolfgang enough airtime now, to be honest, because he's been all over YouTube for ages now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Let's talk about bigger celebrities. Let's talk about you two. So you've known each other for a very, very long time.
Yeah, literally. Mark was about, I think you were like 2 or 3, weren't you, Mark? And I was about 5 or 6. And
Yeah, our families grew up together. We used to live down a cul-de-sac, and our families kind of grew up together. So Andy was a few years older than me, so I always kind of Andy always used to like steal my toys and like swap them for like rubbish stuff. But yeah, I mean, we've known all our lives. We've grown up together, and when we sort of reached our teens and sort of like late teens and stuff, Andy was already in a band. I just bought a synthesizer. Their keyboard player had left, so Andy gave me a shout. So then, for the next 20 odd years, we was in bands together and various musical projects, and it's fairly successful. I mean, we didn't get signed or anything, but we had sort of residencies around London, and we played all the venues. So, and we was in bands for 20 years, and then stupidly we agreed to do the electronic cafe, afterwards, where we went out for lunch one Sunday, and we both love music. We both love sharing music, and we both get frustrated that so much good music isn't kind of well known by a lot of people. And stupidly, like Andy said, should we do a YouTube channel? And we're both really busy. I mean, I've got a young family, and I've got grown-up daughters, and we both got kind of busy jobs and stuff. And we both went, yeah, all right. We got no free time, but we both said, yeah, all right. And literally within 30 seconds, we'd bought microphones, we bought cameras and stuff, and we committed to it. And we did our first episode, and I can't even look back on it now, because it's just we had no idea. We had no idea what we were doing at all. I mean, not that we do now, but I mean, we jumped straight in with episode number 1 being craft work, and it's you probably shouldn't go straight into craft work. So I mean, our journey together has been everything we've done, we seem to have done together.
Yeah, music.
So tell us about some of these bands you were in then.
God,
were they?
So we did. I remember someone described it. I still can't understand. Someone once wrote, "They're the thinking man's new order." Make of that what you will. I still don't know what that means. I remember, was it the Romford Recorder came in and did a piece on us, and we were starting to build some stuff. I guess we were influenced by the bands at that time, like Early Simple Minds and Kraftwerk, obviously Depeche and all those guys. So it was a mixture of everything there. So very indie, sort of lots of electronics that Mark provided with a lead guitar, bass drums, and me trying to sing. And it was great fun. Obviously, as Mark said, we didn't climb the heights of the bands that we love, but it was still good getting 200 people singing your choruses back to you in the rock garden on a sweaty Saturday night, because it's quite uplifting. So it was great. And I think just kids and age and different bands, just sort of after a while we had a great ride, but then it just stopped doing it, and do miss it. But as Mark says, got busy lives, got kids, and this whole thing started as I was in a restaurant called Roast, and I was just talking about music. This guy, and he went, "You need to do something with that passion. Do you know anyone who's as passionate about it as you?" Because I've never met anyone like you. So funny enough, my best mate is exactly the same, and that's why I thought I'm going to ask Mark, and Mark and I both agreed to do it, and haven't looked back really. It's great. It's for you guys, right? I mean, you're kind of doing what we're doing. You're promoting great music on Satsuma Radio. It's brilliant, and your frustration is probably similar to us, where even in the 80s there was bands that weren't getting enough exposure. But I mean, now it's nigh impossible. You see bands like Beautiful Machines that we had on our gig in March, our first live gig, and everyone's coming out of there saying to me and Mark, "These guys should be playing Wembley Arena." And we're like, "Yeah, we know. That's why we want to bring them to people like you guys do, right?" And there's so many other bands like that, like Cult with No Name. I'm sure you know Eric and Johnny. Their last album was, I think, it's a masterpiece. And Electronic Sound Magazine said it's why they synth pop's best kept secret. And me and Mark are going, "Yeah, why are they?" So that's that. So that passion and drive from creating music is now going into supporting bands and reflecting on some of the idols that we've all loved and grown. So we're trying to create that mixture, which is why I think we're such a good fit with Blitz magazine. I mean, it was Mark's idea. So why don't you just write to them and just see if they're interested in doing something? And so it was info@Blitz, and I thought I wrote this wordy email, and I thought that's going to go in the bin. But luckily, Tom Saunders, who's the publisher at Silverback, who produces the magazine, got in touch within minutes. and said, "Oh, your show inspired the magazine." I went, "What?" completely threw me by surprise. And he's become a dear friend, and we're contributing in that now, which is great. So in fact, I've got to write the next one with Mark. We've got to supply it this week for the next issue. But it's all done for no reason other than just passion and love of music. We certainly, I would say, we both got full-time jobs that pay the bills, but we don't do it to make money. I mean, the live events, as long as we break even, which we did the first one, that's all that matters. So
going back to the music and the bands that you originally said, I mean, Andy was in a band before I joined, and their keyboard player left, and I was I went for a stage when I was 18. I had a series of collapsed lungs, and I was off of work for like a year, and my company kept paying me, so I was accumulating all this money, and I couldn't do anything. So eventually, when I was better, I bought a car, and I'd always wanted a synthesizer because, like, Duran Duran and Nick Rhodes was kind of like, my thing back then. So I bought a synthesizer, and my dad went absolutely spare because he's like, what are you buying a synthesizer for? But then I bought this synthesizer, and it coincided with Andy's band losing their keyboard player. So I sort of jumped in, and I kind of knew a little bit how to play it back then. And it kind of changed the sound of the band because I was, I got into like sequencing and synthesizers and sampling and all things like that. And over the 20 odd years that we were doing it, the sound changed really from like an indie rock band with synthesizers to more, when it went through the 90s and stuff, it became that very sort of dancey sort of electronic sound. So we've been in various different projects. I mean, the sound's changed. I mean, outside of all of that, even up until when we started the Electronic Cafe, I did an album, and I put an album out there. Andy did his own stuff as well. So as individuals as well, we were still making music. And I think we probably reached an age where we thought, enough's enough, let's talk about it.
I'd rather talk to people that have been successful.
I want to know, what was that first synth that you bought?
I bought an SH101, Roland SH101, and I bought a cool Poly 800, and I love that one actually. And I
proper synth, that one.
Yeah, and I had a Juno 6 as well, because there used to be like a music shop where we grew up in Lane Romford, and I used to go in there every Saturday, and they used to have all the Roland stuff set up, and I just thought, if I ever come into any sort of money, I want to buy a Roland, a Juno, something or another. Obviously a Jupiter 8, but I can never afford a Jupiter 8. So they were my early Sims, and then I mean, behind me there is there's somewhere is the I sold all my analog Sims when everything went digital, like everyone did. You couldn't give them away, and like now they're just worth a fortune. So that behind me is the Behringer copy of the SH101, which I just bought it out of I would just love to have a play around with it again. So I mean, that was it's a mono synth. It was good for bass lines. It was just like a nice bit of kit.
Still in the box.
But a Poly 800, I love that synth. Did your stick go funny and it used to oscillate like every so often, like on its own?
Yeah. The amount
It's a common thing.
The amount of times I've knocked mine, because they were only really funny plastic, weren't they?
Yeah.
It was just a lovely sound. I used to love it. It was a basic sort of sequence thing, but I just loved it. I loved the tone of it.
Yeah.
I wish they'd put it in a metal or wooden cabinet or something though.
Yeah.
It just got trashed. But I saw one the other day actually. It was on eBay. They were trying to get 800 quid for it.
I know.
Some going for tens of thousands now, aren't they? I mean,
I saw a Jupiter 8, which obviously was the pinnacle of synthesizers at the time, but it was $32,000 for a Jupiter 8.
if only you kept them, mate.
Let's not go there.
Oh, tell me about it. I know.
Do you still listen to the music that you used to make? Have you got recordings of it?
We have recordings of it, yeah.
Yeah.
See, the strange thing as well is that one of the sets of demos that we did, we spent a weekend in a 16-track studio in London, which at the time was like was 16 tracks for a whole weekend, and we paid a fortune for it. And what you can do now with Logic or Pro Tools, or whether in your own house, it sounds so much more superior to the fortune we paid for two songs. We had two-day sessions, didn't we?
Yeah,
like a year apart. So we've probably got 4 songs and some remixes. But what you can do on Logic now is just sounds so much better than what we sounded like with a 16-track.
Yeah, 16-track, you just about get your drum track down, wouldn't you?
Exactly. No, exactly.
Right, you're right. I remember I worked at Microsoft for a little while, and one of my clients started out this thing called Music Towers, and he just said, I need someone to review albums for me. And I said, yeah. Literally, my letterbox was getting all these discs and just CDs of demos and stuff. And I loved it then, but obviously it wasn't sustainable with the day job because there was so many albums coming. I said, dude, I can't. And he wasn't going to match my salary at Microsoft, so I had to stop doing it. But yeah, you're right. Once you're in, it's just a drug, isn't it? You can't stop.
Talking about getting music coming in, I mean, we get anything up to 300 or 400 tracks a week coming in.
Jeez.
Really, that many? We get some, but we don't get that many.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all appropriate for all of the shows. I mean, we're lucky that we've got some pure electronic shows. Some are a bit more eclectic, like Ronnie's show. Bridget's is a bit eclectic as well, but a lot of it is based around electronic music. Most of the shows feature independent and unsigned acts, and then we throw in a few of the biggies as well.
Sure.
But yeah, we get loads and loads and loads of stuff coming in, don't we? And we actually listen to the majority of the tracks, unless it's headed as, I don't know, Peruvian folk or something. Then we sort of store that for a future show.
Yeah.
Or in the beef file for bins. I didn't say that.
But what we found is that the technical quality of the music that comes out is way better than it used to be.
Sure.
So sort of buying the proper kit, whether they've got the correct tonality of their voice or they're quite in tune or not, but even auto tune, I'm amazed how good the stuff is.
Yeah,
you're right. It must be nice playing through that, because it's like sifting for gold. You're going to find...
It's very time consuming.
Oh, there is that, but when you find that one track that you go, that that stands out for you, it's nice, isn't it?
It is interesting. I mean, we try not to judge stuff before we listen to it, which is the thing. Although if someone submits a track and I think it's really diverse, if some of these bands, if they're just 30 or 40 years too late, because they would have been in the charts.
But it's strange though, because we kind of grew up in like a halcyon period, I think. Now from, in 78 to 82, I guess. I mean, I was like, 78, I was 13. To 82, I mean, all the Depeche Mode, the Japan, the Ultravox, just Blancmange, there was so much innovative, creative music in that period. Yes, Soft Cell, there was so much stuff. I mean, we grew up in a town called Upminster, which is the next town up from Basildon where Depeche Mode were. And we used to know Depeche Mode back in the early days. We used to go and see them in Crocs and Raquel's. We always used to see them on the train. We used to chat with them, and we used to, Depeche Mode were kind of our local band. And the strange thing in both of our minds, especially my mind, is, I mean, we've seen Depeche Mode on every single tour. We've seen them on Crocs and Raquel's, or Flicks in Dartford, or Hammersmith Foley and Wembley Arena, like up to O2, Twickenham, Wembley. We've seen all those things, and part of my mind thinks, I know they're probably one of the biggest bands in the world, but equally, I think they're my mates because we used to see them on the train. This kind of like, not that we've spoken for years and years and years, but because we kind of used to jump on a train, they always used to be sitting on the train. We used to. We had our little cassette players. We used to play them our demos, and they used to be polite and used to listen to it and stuff like that. The dichotomy between, we know they're the biggest band in the world and probably one of the most successful electronic bands ever, but the fact is we used to see them on beer crates in these small venues.
I think even then we thought they were special. Even then, they just had it, didn't they? But yeah, who knew they'd get this big? But yeah, absolutely enormous. I'd love to get them on the chat.
But I mean, I do think we grew up in a period where there was just so much phenomenal music coming out. I mean, I don't want to hark back to those days were the best, but I mean, there's so much great music out now as well. But I mean, there was platforms for it back then.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think back then though, the music that came out, it was so massively diverse.
Yes.
When you think of all the bands that you listed, they're not actually the same, are they?
You don't the
they're not. I mean, ABC, it just stretches. Then they're not the same, and yet people liked all of that music. Whereas now it seems that you either look like the boy band next door, or I don't know what's around at the moment, but because I don't tend to listen to chart stuff.
I mean, you're exactly right, because I couldn't
quite quickly. That's the problem.
I couldn't tell you the top 10. I couldn't tell you one song that's in the top 10 at the moment.
No.
And yet we buy a lot of new stuff that doesn't get in the charts.
Yeah, I think back in the day as well that a lot of the bands were writing their own stuff, whereas in the charts now, I know there are some bands that write their own stuff, but generally they're written by a team of writers and producers that are writing for everyone else that's in the top 10. And it's a bit of a monopoly, isn't it? Sadly, I mean, it's forever really, but that seems to be the case.
No, you're right, mate.
Surrounded by the same writers, and of course, in the old days, if you were a different, unique band, like the bands we were just talking about, there was a fair chance if you were different enough, you could get in the charts, even if it's briefly.
Yeah.
But now, if you're different, you've got no chance.
Well, the other thing adding to that, and you're absolutely right, is there was also all those TV programs. You had the old Grey Whistle Test, the Tube, TFI, and I saw a lot of bands through those programs, and they just don't exist. I mean, Jules does probably 6 episodes a year, and he does have quite a nice diversity of artists, which I love it for. But that's it.
They were cool shows, weren't they? There aren't any cool shows anymore.
Yeah, mate, you're right. The Tube. I mean, Mark Reeder, who we know very well, is obviously DJing at our gig next year. Yeah, I remember he did an episode of the Tube with Muriel Gray when the Berlin Wall came down. He brought bands from East and West to perform. When's anything like that going to happen? I mean, obviously not with the Berlin Wall, but just stuff like that's different. And you're right, and lots of it. There was loads of great TV content for bands.
Well, I know they're going to do Live Aid the musical, if that helps.
I just read that this today in the paper. I was like,
get them on your show.
Did you hear what Bob Geldof said? It better be effing good, he said.
Give us your effing money. That's what I remember.
Oh yeah, well yeah, there's that as well. But but you're right. There was so many more platforms that are out there for bands to come through, and
on a less cooler degree, I remember rushing home from school to watch Razzmatazz because Gary Newman was going to be performing Music for Chameleons on it.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time he appeared on Top of the Pops. Even my dad went. I mean, I just sat there and went, "Oh my god, who's this guy? He's amazing." And even my dad went, "He's pretty cool." And then next thing you know, Hammersmith Odeon 1979, I've still got the damn programme framed with the signed picture, being supported by Mr. McCluskey and Mr. Humphreys, who we saw. We had a reel-to-reel rhythm track called Winston, Andy on bass and Paul on the keyboard, with a plain curtain black backdrop. And then these light towers came out, and I was a 16-year-old. I was in a high for 6 months. I've never seen anything like it.
There was something about it, wasn't there, that sort of resonated with not just young men, because Bridget was late to the party.
I wasn't a young man,
but she wasn't a young man. No. Late to the party, but you started on the poppier stuff, and then discovered Gary Newman. There's a good story about this actually, when you bought your first Newman record.
Oh yeah, well, because I'm a little bit younger. I
8 years.
Yeah.
A lot younger.
So in the sort of late 70s, I was about 5, but I started listening to records that I took out of my local library, because where I lived we didn't have record shops.
Quaint.
I didn't have any money because I was just a little girl, but yeah, we had a library that stocked cassettes and LPs, and I would take OMD LPs out of the library. But they did the Liberator tour in 91.
Yeah,
one of the only, and OMD was kind of my thing, and all of my mates thought I was a weirdo, because I was. But nobody else liked what I liked, so they were kind of mine, And when they came to Aberdeen, as hardly anybody did, Gary Newman was the support, and I'd never seen or heard much of Newman until then. But then I had to go down to the only secondhand record shop and say, have you got that song that goes doo-doo? And they're like, yes, there you are. Yes. And that started my love affair with Gary Newman. Not literally.
You never.
But I mean, Our Friends Electric was like, it was a song that came out that you'd never heard anything like it before, had you? I mean, I know that sounds really strange, but you listen to it, and
no, it was,
for me, songs like that were an epiphany moment when the first time I heard Our Friends Electric.
Yeah.
I mean, my route up was from, the kind of new wavy Squeeze and Elvis Costello, and I was massively into Adam and the Ants, and then the Specials, and there was, back in the day. God, you sound like turn into your dad. You turn into your dad. But there was groups, wasn't there? There was like clans that you was like you was a mod, or you was a rocker, or you was a punk, or you was a this. Or you was that. There was like little movements that you were in, and I remember, I used to love the early Squeeze stuff, Elvis Costello. Then you move on, and then suddenly Newman came out with Our Friends Electric, and you just think, what is this? And for me, we listened to tons of music, like all types of music, and the Electronic Cafe is predominantly kind of electronic based. But I mean, Newman was an epiphany moment for me, and I'm sure for Andy. I mean, Andy.
Well, I'll show you. Look, it's a picture of me as a 16-year-old. Was on my birthday card. There's me, my Gary Newman club. I just remembered.
Familiar.
Yeah, look at that. Here in my car. That was me at 16. Obsessed.
No hope. Yeah, you're right. But Our Friends Electric. I mean, it's such a massively iconic, powerful beginning. Straight in.
Yes.
Just straight in, and it's not. It shouldn't even be a single because it's too long.
No, you're right.
And it doesn't follow the formula for a single. And yet, when I saw him on Top of the Pops, I was gobsmacked watching this.
Yeah, so we must have seen that same episode.
Couldn't figure it out what it was. Must have been like, people who saw Bowie for the first time must have thought, what the hell is it?
That's a really good comparison. I think you're absolutely spot on.
But you don't know that meant something. Yeah.
But that's because there was a platform, because there was Top of the Pops, because there was something. You had those moments. You had the Bowie moment.
Yeah.
You had the Newman moment. You had the moments where you went to school the following day, and it was like, did you see whoever on Top of the Pops the following night? I mean, I remember, first time I saw Adam and the Ants on Top of the Pops, it was just like, it was like a moment. And if the bands haven't got that platform, or they're not being, Nation of Language, say, for example, is a really, really great band. We love those. We've seen them live. We love those. But there's a lot of people don't know about them because they haven't got a Top of the Pops. They haven't got a something, an Oxford Roadshow or an Old Grey Whistle Test, or a kind of off mainstream TV program where they can be seen or heard.
Everything on TV is based around the sort of 18 to 25 age group, though, isn't it? Any new programming, it's going into that. And it sounds really old now, don't it? But it's such a shame. You think with so many channels now of all eras.
No, that's a really good shout. Yeah, you're right. But you say about our age, it's weird because I mean I've got two daughters that are 20 and 21, about to turn 22, and I'll play stuff in here all the time, and the amount of times their friends knock on the door like, what's that? That's amazing. I'm like, what a shame. Or, Andy, you should be a DJ. We'd come and see. And I'm like, are you taking a mickey? But they're deadly serious. We don't hear the stuff in clubs. Because I do play new stuff. It's new stuff that isn't on the radio. And I know Mark would be the same if he had, people around. It's so frustrating because you just think, and I say that's why we did that gig in March. We put on National Milk Bar. Love them guys from Wales, Beautiful Machines, and obviously Eric and Johnny and Colt. But most of the people that came to that night had never seen them, and they all came away going. A lot of National Milk Bar went down really well. So did Eric and Johnny. And then, as I say, when they saw Beautiful Machines, so they've got quite a big anthemic sound. Everyone was coming out and said earlier, going, "Why aren't these guys playing at Wembley?" And we're like, "Yeah, we know," because the first time we saw them, they were supporting Wolfgang at the Lexington. And within 2 tracks, me and Mark looked at each other and went, holy shit, these guys are good. So I made a complete beeline to them as they were tidying up and said, we need to talk. And, became really good friends with them ever since. In fact, we went out drinking with them the other night. It's quite funny because Steph wears that helmet. I don't know if you've seen, she wears that really cool helmet, and they're supposed to be filmed that night, but I think they sunk a few too many Guinnesses and didn't end up going. Steph ended up putting a helmet on in the pub holding a pint of Guinness, which was fantastic. But you know, it's when you see bands like that, and they did get us to support OND in Germany, which is great. But they need someone else needs to get behind it and just give them that extra push, because I think they're not quite close to it, but they're certainly good enough, you know, to grace any massive arena or stadium, as are many other bands. I mean, one of the bands Mark and I love right now. Do you guys know Low Moon? Low Moon, L-O Moon. So I was literally in this record shop, and it said in Billericay, and it said Talk sound alike. I thought, no one sounds like Mark Hollis. So I said to the guy, look, how much do these guys sound like Talk? And he got his phone and played a bit. And within 10 seconds, I went, I'm having that. I called my best mate Mark and said, dude, you've got to hear these guys. Seen them live twice. We're going to see them again next month. But they're just on the verge, I think. But they're playing in Lexington for 3 days or 3 nights, 7, 14, 21st November. And that's quite a small venue, because we saw them supporting Metric at the Roundhouse. I think they supported London Grammar. They definitely supported War on Drugs. And their guitarist is Dave Stewart's son from the Eurythmics. So they've got a good pedigree. But you wait for them. You look out for them. They're great. He's got we've interviewed Matt, the singer Matt Lau, who's got the most incredible voice. But I won't lie, it has the same impact as when you hear Back to the Jury for the first time. You know, he sounds just like his dad. Doesn't just sound like him. He sounds like he's him. And this guy's very. And I love Mark Hollis, you know, massive fan. So I'm kind of glad that there's someone, although it's not Mark, he's got that vibe and that voice, and it's beautiful, thoroughly worth a plug. But again, they should be huge, you know.
Yeah. It's true what you say, Kurt. That there's more channels now than ever, but then there's less music. There's less music programs than ever. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. When MTV first come out, I used to love MTV, but then they ruined that, because it was great when it was just all the videos, all the bands, but then when it became something else, you know,
it turned the corner, though, didn't it? It turned into R&B, drum and bass, and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. And
that innovation that it started.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's a really good shout. MTV.
I think it also fed the industry, didn't it? Because you had to do a really good video to get on MTV. You know, something different, and you had the Duran Duran Rio and just all those iconic videos, because they did something that was more special than just a performance video. You know, there's bigger budgets and everything. I mean, it does sound like I'm turning into my dad, like moaning about the old days. But
I think it's because all 4 of us have got the shared frustration. We know there's some great music which we all love, and we put on, you know, the radio show with Big Satsuma and us on the Electronic Cafe, but you kind of wonder why they're not bigger or more people, because it's weird. And again, I'm starting to sound like an old man now, but every time
you're an old man.
I am. But every time I play this stuff, my daughter's friends go, "This is amazing. I don't hear this in clubs." So the kids don't. It's not they don't like it; they're just not hearing it. You know, if they heard it, they'd like it.
What's super frustrating is when you do listen to the stuff that like my girls listen to, it is all the same. I mean,
yeah,
you can swap the vocalist, and the construction of the songs is the same. And you're thinking, yeah, it's very good. It's really technical. It's very crisp. It's very clean, and it technically sounds like you would expect it to sound. You know exactly what's going to come up and when it's going to happen, when it's going to slow down, when they're going to drop a beat at you.
Yeah, there's no soul or depth into it, is there? It's all very mechanical.
And then you put on dazzle chips.
Yeah.
No,
now you're talking.
I mean, it's great. It's great what you guys do. I mean, I listen to your shows. And you know, there's a deep dive. There's not just that, you know, the singles and stuff. You play like album tracks and stuff like that.
We know that when we send our album out, some stations will play 2 or 3 tracks for a couple of weeks, and then it'll disappear until we bring another single out. So what we tend to do is, if someone's got a new single out, we'll dip back into perhaps 2 or 3 albums ago, and we'll drag out. We're always playing stuff on our radio shows that were released independent bands like 3-4 years ago, just to remind people, you know, how good some of the early, I don't know, VNB Nation or Shiny Darkness was, or, you know, all these sort of bands, because otherwise no one plays them. it's like this graveyard of independent music that no one ever goes there, and we like to drag it out and think, okay, don't just play. You know, some bands they're sending us a track a week almost, aren't they? We think, please, or an album every 2 weeks. Some of the bands, and we're thinking, oh my God, just calm down.
Wow.
Just calm down. Yeah, some are really prolific with their albums. You think we haven't even finished playing the last album yet.
Neil Arthur's a bit like that, isn't he? I mean, love him to bits, but his work rate is unbelievable. Have you seen the tour he's just announced, by the way? So we interviewed Neil because he just brought out that Remainder album with Finley Shakespeare and who's the other guy? Might remind me.
Liam Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. And we jokingly said, "Oh, would there be a time where?" Because we said you're going to bring it on the road. Yeah, probably. And Mark said, "Well, what about doing a blancmange gig with the Remainders and you do 2 sets, Neil?" And he's just announced he's doing just that. the man's unbelievable.
We just got our tickets.
Incredibly nice guy as well. But yeah,
we're doing Birmingham on that one. Yeah, we tried. We've tried to go to the last couple of blancmange gigs, and it's with COVID and ill health, and it just didn't work. In fact, talking to Andy the day about OMD gigs, we've missed the last 3 OMD gigs because we had we were meant to see him at a food festival in Liverpool, and that was cancelled for COVID, and they rebooked it, and then they cancelled that. So then we were going to see them.
We went to Watford on the Punishment of Luxury.
All right.
And we had
was it? It was a 40.
Oh no, it was the 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary. We got the VIP packs and passes and stuff.
Sound check just about to start, and then whoever it was, the venue person, came out and said, "We've cancelled the sound check.
No gig.
The buildings are ready to fall down because the frequencies are too loud, and it was going to destroy."
We sat there with our laminates and our packs.
No
band
in Watford.
So we had a night in Watford, which wasn't as exciting as I planned.
No.
So we had a laugh with Andy about that. So then we booked to go to Ghent, the one at Audley End to see
Soft
Cell, Heavy 17.
Yeah, in
right, yeah.
And then I did my leg in, and we had front row tickets. And
we were going to meet you, wasn't we?
We had to sell them. It was like, oh my God.
Oh no.
So that's why in the interview, Andy says, for God's sake, don't buy any more tickets. I'll just send you them. Don't, because you're a jinx. Just don't do it. So we're determined we're going to see them for the next gig.
I mean, what we do, and it's our own choice. I mean, because we talk about albums and because we want to introduce the music, we put lots of snippets in our episodes. And because we put lots of snippets in our episodes, nothing's monetized. You don't make money out of it. Fine, it's great. That doesn't bother us. But if you take OMD, for example, the album's not out until the 27th, so we can't put the episode out with snippets of the music in, just because we wouldn't do that, and it's not fair to do that. So that's the reason why. I mean, it's in the can, but we're not putting it out to the 27th. So, but talking to Andy was. I mean, again, there was another pinch yourself moment for us because, I mean, he was brilliant to speak to. And we know a lot of people like you do that we've kind of been 1 degree of separation away from a lot of people. I mean, Beautiful Machine supported them in Germany. Tiny Magnetic Pets have supported them. We know a lot of people that, Metroland, Sven, Metroland, 808 Pop, they remixed like OMD songs. So we've been kind of like one step away, but we haven't been sort of like pushy and just thought, can you send them an email and just say we'd like to speak to them? We just like organically kind of got.
It came from Blitz magazine. They got us
to know them, but yeah, I mean, we got tickets to see them at the O2, which is great. But we've seen OMD many times. I mean, we've seen OMD supporting Depeche Mode back in the day at House of Odeon and things like that. It's one of our favourite bands. I mean, obviously Bridget loves them, but
don't go with Kurt because of the bad luck.
I think I actually did say to Andy, "I love you."
Yeah, she did actually say, "I love you." She was embarrassed. Just get it out of the way. I love you.
I've got to do the fangirl thing. God. Get it over with.
He's super cool though. He's super nice.
I did that, but he thought I was a bit weird.
Well, he didn't hang up, so.
Yeah, big fans. I mean, I don't know about you. I said to Mark, we've been so lucky, and I'm sure it's the same. Everyone we've met is all. I'm dreading that interview where someone's having a bad day and they just want to take it out, and they go, "Who are these two little weeks coming on to talk to me? I can't be asked." And thankfully, we haven't had that yet. I'm just touching wood because everyone has been absolutely lovely.
It's lovely. I remember we got a phone call from that was an email when we were at our previous radio station, which will become nameless, saying, "What are you doing on Friday at 6 o'clock?" I don't know. Do you want to interview Jean-Michel Jarre? It's like, I mean, when I was a kid, it wasn't my idol. Yeah. It was my older brother. He's 2 years older.
Yeah.
He was like his idol. But to me, and Newman is God. But you know, I mean, Jean-Michel Jarre is above God. He's like, there's no way on earth we're ever going to meet him or speak to him at all. So
amazing.
Like, what are you doing at 6 o'clock? Do you want to speak to him? Well, I was going, and I messaged Bridget and said, "What are you doing at 6 o'clock? I just can't do this one." Normally, I have no problem doing interviews at all. I find, as you say, they're the loveliest people on the planet. But I was freaking, and I was like, I won't be able to. You've got to do this. And she said, "I can't. I'm on a call. I can't do it." I was like, "Shit." So all right. And then it came 6 o'clock, and I was just like panicking. I was pacing the room, and I got this Zoom call ready lined up for it. And oh no, so it was a phone call. It was a phone call interview, and I got the number of his Paris apartment, which was even freakier, to ring him. So they said, "Yeah, ring 6 o'clock." Rang 6 o'clock. "Hello, this is Jean-Michel Jarre. I'm not in at the moment. Please leave a message, and I may call you back." I said, "Oh, hello, it's me." Blah 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 blah. What the hell now? 6:15, nothing. I was like, ring him again. "Hello, this is Jean-Michel Jarre." I said, "Oh, he's gone out. He's just." I knew it. Put the phone down, about to turn the gear off. Phone rang. It's a Paris number. And he said, "Hello, this is Jean-Michel Jarre." He said, "Johnny normal." Let's go on. Record. And
it's strange though, isn't it?
Yeah. You can hear an interview. It's like, I was just absolutely overawed with him.
Yeah, of course you would be.
Yeah.
Because for me, Billy Currie as well. I mean, Ultravox were like, you know, I remember I was slightly too young for the Vienna tour, but Raging Eden was the first ever gig I went to. And
that's a good one to put your teeth on.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Currie was kind of like, you know, keyboards, Billy Currie. It was like, you know, and to actually speak to him, and he was super nice and just real great fun. It was just like such a moment for both of us. I mean, he was brilliant. He was really brilliant.
Okay.
Young lad with a guitar who's just something about him, and we thought he sent us a track, and he sent a WAV file. So Bridget told him off. "I told you before, send an MP3." But I'm really sorry, Mom. You know? So this young lad, he's really only young. He sent this in, and we sort of played it as we normally do, going through all the stuff, and we thought, this is really. It was an acoustic thingy, but it was really, really good. There's something about this young lad. So we said, "Oh, we'll keep an eye out for him. We'll play it." And he was really grateful, wasn't he?
But his email when he was sending his track out for radio play is like, "I want to get into the charts. I am determined. I am going to get into the charts." I'm like, "No, bless him."
Bless him.
But he did.
Yeah, and what happened was, about 2 weeks, we said we'll keep an eye on him. 2 weeks later, I was just looking at scanning through Facebook to some of the artists we keep an eye on, and it was like Conor Michael. "Yeah, I've done it, number 3. And I said to Bridget, "I think he's got in the Amazon charts or the iTunes chart number 3. And it was like the official chart, and I looked it up, and it was like, yeah. And the only reason you could get to number 1 was because the guy from One Direction, Harry Styles, had announced his world tour, and he was number 1 and number 2, and Conor Michael was number 3 in the UK charts, and he did it. He actually did it. So then we got him on the show, and he was like, this young lad was just absolutely, you know, just so happy. We got him on the station, and hang on, you know, you're a chart act.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing what you guys do. I mean, when me and Andy decided to do this. After we'd done it, we just thought, oh my God, like who's going to listen to us two just rambling on about music? Do you know what I mean? There was that kind of moment where we just thought, are we going to make ourselves look like idiots here? But you know, fortunately, 3 years down the line, it seems to, it's picked up some momentum, and we get lots of feedback that, we get lots of compliments about being personable and the way the way we do our interviews, you just have a chat with people, and people like that rather than the questions like backwards and forwards and everything. But we did have a moment where we just thought, oh my God, like it's just gonna be like, will people tune in to listening to just us two talking about music? You know, when the first episode went out, when we launched it, I just thought, oh my God, if we get 100 people, I'm gonna be like chuffed. You know. No, but you know, I mean, I had a look today. I mean, we've passed 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, which isn't like viral, massive, but, and I've done the research on this, 86% of YouTube channels have got under 1,000 subscribers. So I suppose you could argue that we're in the top 14% of all YouTube channels, which I'm quite proud of. I mean, 5,000 just grown organically is quite good. I mean, we're still growing and we'd like to be bigger. But from the start, where we just thought, it's me and Andy, we'd be having the same conversation if it wasn't filmed and put out on YouTube anyway. It would just be us two, like,
I think the audiences spot that, but also the artists that you're talking to spot that as well. I think we were talking to name drop. We were talking to Sal Solo the other day, which is coming out in a
new album. Yeah,
fantastic man. And he just like dropped his guard a bit, didn't he? And he said, you know, I used to be a bit of an arse back in the day, and hopefully I'm not anymore, you know. But he was so like real, you know, aware of how he was. And he said he likes doing interviews where they're sort of not aware that he's in an interview. And they're always the best ones. What you guys do, I think you get people can feel comfortable with the chat, and then they tell you things. They, you know, I've just thought I'll tell them this, because they must. Fun. I know, like Andy McCloskey, you know, we chatted with him at 10 o'clock in the morning. He'd done 4 interviews already. One was with the Telegraph. Already he'd done 4 interviews, and he'd got others for the rest of the day. Yeah. And they must, like, you know, you see it with Newman, don't you? He's the best one. We saw him on BBC News, early evening local news once. He was playing in Birmingham, and they get him on and they play Cars, you know, and they get him in and they say, so Gary, what have you been doing you went away for 40 years. Where have you been?
Oh, God.
He's going, I've released 28 albums or whatever it is, and I've done this, and I've been on tour continuing, I've done this, and I've moved to America. And it's like, yeah, tell me about Cars. It's like, they must get the same questions time after time. So
yeah, it's funny actually. It's like, so we've been trying to talk to the Depeche Mode boys, and for that reason, we watched when Memento Mori got announced and the tour got announced. But we saw a couple of interviews, and they're in like some Midwest YouTube channels because they've got big numbers, right? But what the questions? The best one, this woman went, so Dave, why does your voice sound so different on that particular track on Memento Mori? He went, because it's Martin singing it. and the other one, mate, talk about the ultimate boring question. Another guy on another channel went, hey Martin, so you know, you've been touring for years, so you must be really good at packing. What? And I'm like, why can't we get these guys? Because we, as masters, we know that we'll have a proper interview with them. So we'll keep on that one.
Well, keep on, keep persistent. But yeah, I like some. I might do a compilation. I might do a show about these actually. Really terrible interviews.
Yeah, there's lots of them, mate.
Watch any Newman interview, local news. They just don't do their research. They give it to the girl who normally does the weather, and they say Gary Newman's coming on. Who, you know, and they just. Look it up. Wikipedia, you know, first line of Wikipedia. That's what they ask him, and it's just it's dreadful.
It's like you guys. Right? I know you're well connected to a lot of the artists, which is great, and it's like us. So Martin, we've got 5,000 audience, which isn't the biggest, but actually the quality of it's amazing because you got Wolfgang in there, you got the guys from Loma, you got Midge in there, you got loads of like yourself. So for me, it's more about the quality of the people and the people that genuinely care about the music. You know, that's the most important thing.
And you say grown organically because it is about networking. It's about you do something with someone and they go, oh, well, yeah, they're really nice. Talk to them, and then and that's how it works, isn't it? That's how.
I mean, Rusty's been a help. I'm sure you've interviewed Rusty.
Not yet. I've only got 4 terabytes.
You'll need plenty of memory.
Yeah, I've only got the 4 terabytes at the
moment. He's adorable though. You know, he's like,
you press
the button and he's off, but. the stories he's got, and
Stuart interviewed him.
Mhm.
Stuart interviewed him.
yeah, he's great. He's really good. But you know, he shoots with a few people. But it's nice, as you say, when you're chatting. It's like us with you. You know, really comfortable, and that's how it should be. And I remember we interviewed Chris Payne, who's another hero of ours, and we did the hour, and we're very conscious of their time. I said, "Well, Chris, it's been an absolute joy." He went, "What do you mean? Well, you're not wrapping it up now, are you? I'm really enjoying it. Just keep going." Me and Mike went, "All right then." So we did. You know, it was great. So it's nice when you get that, because as you say, you always want to make sure they're enjoying it, because it's their time. And Mark and I are very conscious of that. And we always say that we're not music journalists; we're just fans that are just obsessed about.
It comes from the best place, then, doesn't it? Because you're genuinely interested in what they've got to say and where they've come from, and because you're musicians as well, you're seeing behind the curtain, so you can ask them questions that the man in the woman in the street won't maybe ask. But also, you know the questions to avoid as well, don't you?
Well, like yeah. So I know us four will never ask anyone if they're good at packing.
I mean, it's not so much a crap question; it's just a bizarre question.
I give Mr. Martin Gory's due. He kind of handled it well, but he must have been sitting there going, "What the?"
But I said to Billy Curry, like when Ultravox did the Return to Eden, like their thing. I mean, I saw them 2 or 3 times on that tour, and the first song they did was Astrodyne, which was a very like the piano at the beginning. And I said to Billy Curry, like, it was such a ballsy thing to do. Like, first track, you're cold, you come on, and the first track is Astrodyne. And as a he liked that question just because someone probably never asked him that question before. It's like, why did you start with one of the most complicated keyboard tracks to start with when you're fresh on the stage? And you know, I think me and Andy don't do too much research into who we interview, just because, like you guys, we're fans of the music. We know it anyway, and we just see where the conversation goes most of the time.
Yeah. It is nice when they offer you something, isn't it? That you're not going to ask them, or you think, I won't ask them about so and so, and then they just offer it to you, and say, or they say when you're talking to them, they say, well, no one's ever actually asked me that before.
Yeah, as you say, you get that nugget that's unprompted, and I'm sitting there thinking, as they're talking, in my back of my mind, going, "This is gold. This is gold." Yeah, it really is. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Let's ask you a question. Who haven't you interviewed who you would like to interview? Andy Bell. Andy Bell.
Yeah.
Vince. Or both.
Or both.
Oh, well, both, obviously. I'm greedy, both of them.
That's such a tough one. Mark Almond. I've tried for about 8 years, and I've got close.
But Mark met a long time.
No cigar.
What about you?
Oh, God. It's a
Okay,
it is a good question.
An icon and
dead one.
an unsigned independent act.
Oh,
You probably want to get the Rude Awakening on, because I hear they're pretty good. And
Yeah, I know.
coming out.
yeah, I've heard about them. We should definitely get them on. Oh,
One of them's a bit obsessed about Erasure, though.
Yeah.
okay.
A little bit.
Did you say, Bridget? Did you say Dead or Alive icon or?
Well, no, I said an icon or an independent.
I said dead,
You said that.
because I would have interviewed Prince.
Oh, God, yeah.
I would have gone Bowie. Bowie for me. Or
Andy
Yeah.
Andy just shoots the lights out and goes straight for Bowie. For me, it'd be certainly Nick Rhodes. I'd like to speak to Nick Rhodes. And
Dave and Martin.
yeah, David Martin, it'd be good to speak to them too.
I'd like to get Martin Fry as well, because it's really weird actually. When I was a kid, I used to work in this it was at the time, because it was the coolest clothes shop. There's a few of them in London called Woodhouse. And Martin used to come in quite a bit at the peak of his sort of fame in the 80s. And he was always the nicest, kindest, well-mannered man for a celebrity. He used to call me by my first name when he came in the store, became a regular customer of mine. And he's such a lovely man. And that was a long time ago. God, 40 years ago. But I would love to get him on as well, because he still looks good, sounds good. And, you know, as you said, one of those albums that's so different for a lot of the other stuff that was going on in that period. He's not a massive hero, but someone I admire and respect enormously. And I think it'd be a great chat. Have you guys chatted to him, by the way? Have you spoke to Martin?
No, No, we haven't. We reached out recently, but we haven't. These things, they come back to you, don't they?
Well, I know he's got his Facebook page, but I don't think it's him that controls it. Even though it says, "Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing it." I'm like, is that really you? Because I've written you a couple of things and not even a response. I know a couple of the other artists we know do at a similar level, and they do reply, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess Bowie but new bands, God. Because there's so many new bands I'm loving. I mean, Mark and I are terrible. It's like we probably email each other every day. Check this out. Check that out. Check this out. Check that out. But there's some great new stuff. There's a band, one I would give a shout and it's actually not a new band, but it's the Super Furries without Griff Reese, and they're called Das Coolies, and they've released this double album, and it's very LCD sound system, funky as hell, and it's absolutely brilliant. Really liking that. And there's a band from Leeds called Autobahn, but sound nothing like Kraftwerk. They're very much like Joy Division, but from Leeds. They're really cool. It's quite God. Actually, I'll stop because then I'll just go, oh, you should check that out. You should check that out. Then I'll stop. But yeah, but new bands, yeah, probably. God, who would you want to get on, Mark?
I was just going to say, I mean, what we're doing now is no different to like when me and Andy used to drive back from the studio after rehearsal or whatever. Andy used to be driving and he used to have a pile of cassettes in his car, like he's bought, and he used to like, listen to this, check this out, and he used to play like 20 seconds of this song, and then just as you get into it, eject. The next one comes in. It's like, oh, listen to this one, and it was just like it's too much as a passenger. It's absolutely too much. But like what we're doing now is like the natural extension of that. It's exactly the same as like this virtual drive home from the studio where Andy's just got these million new things that he's listening to, which is great to have that sort of enthusiasm still for music. It's amazing. Oh, here we go. He's probably looking for something.
I'm just seeing this is a great album. You guys, I think, have played some of this on your show or shows.
It just sounds fantastic.
Nice cover.
Very, very cool. There's quite and the new Mobile Homes album is really good. Again, I'll stop because then I'll just go off on one.
We found a lovely little record shop, didn't we, in Somerset?
In
Frome.
Oh, Reeves from the Grave.
Reeves from the Grave.
You guys put a picture of that on your socials, didn't you? I'm sure.
Oh well, it was a while ago.
It was a while ago, yeah. Yeah. You had a Yazoo box set which you've been wanting for ages.
Oh yeah.
And I bought this. Well, you bought me actually a little series of albums about British electronic music from 1977 to 1982.
Oh, how cool!
They got bands like my utmost favourite, The Passage, from Manchester, but they got bands that I've never heard of. There's 60 bands I've never heard of, and I think,
how cool is that?
Never. Sorry.
How cool is that? You're sitting there wondering what you're going to get when you put it on.
It's all the bands that went under the radar.
Yeah.
And they're just. I did a show dedicated to them.
Amazing.
People were like going, "Oh my god, I've never heard this before." Neither have I.
Yeah, it's funny.
You should have heard it before.
Should have. Yeah.
The sounds like that were really great.
Any one of them, you could put them against Ultravox or OMD or Newman, and you would have thought they're in that place. Yeah, it's a shame when they don't make it, isn't it? But it's great you've got it and you can hear it. It's funny when me and Mark go to Brighton quite a bit to see some bands. We saw Wolfgang down there and Heaven 17, but we go with the Wise. But me and Mark disappear into Resident Records and Bella Union. The Wise go away, let's just go and do their own thing, because we're like two boys in a candy shop. You're very quiet though, or are you noisy with excitement when you're thumbing through? Look at this.
See, you've worked me out. Yeah, I'm a bit like that. Mark, check this one out. And he's going, oh, leave me alone. Actually, we went record shopping with Mark Reeder in Berlin. That was an experience. Lovely man, absolutely, just such a nice guy. And it's obviously, he had me and Mark. He's telling stories obviously when he used to hang around with Joy Division. There was a picture of him with them the other day actually on the socials, and me and Mark were just like, but it wasn't done in an arrogant sort of big. It's just genuinely just talking about the love he has for those guys and stuff. But then we go in these record shops, you go, you need that, you need that, you need that. I'm like, holy shit, can you just?
Whoa there.
It's like, well, it's just, but obviously a lot of people are going, no, it's Mark Reed.
Andy, you need that though.
Shut up.
What's that?
He did a film, B-movie, which is about Berlin, and he did it's a film and it's an album, and this is really rare, and this is sealed. Well, it was sealed until he signed it, and there was one copy in this record shop, and he said to me, "You should get that." And I was thinking, I already had the DVD of the film, and he said, "Oh no, you should definitely get that. It's really rare." Spoke to the guy in the shop, and he said, there's some guy comes in every week and he looks at it and says, "You haven't sold it yet. You haven't sold it yet." And then he said to me, "You should get it. You should get it." And like Andy was like hovering.
I'm thinking, shall I?
And Andy was waiting for me to go, "Oh no, it's all right." And Andy was going to jump in. So I bought it, and Andy's just like absolutely gutted because that's really rare, because that's got just like the book, the Blu-ray, the double album, everything in it, and Mark signed it for me, and like Andy was just like,
he literally turned up at our hotel to meet us with this armful of vinyl and just gave me and Mark a pile of it each and went, "Welcome to Berlin," and signed them all. And we were like, "What?" Yeah, he's such a lovely human being. And of course, when we were speaking to him recently, he said, "So your first gig went well, see you sold out, got a 4-page review, 5 stars." Yeah, it was fantastic. He said, "Do you want me to DJ in the next one?" We're like, "Fuck yes." I mean, the guys opening around Europe right now for New Order, doing a DJ set before New Order come on. I'm like, "Yeah, we'd love you to DJ that next gig." So we were so pleased that he agreed to do it. So that would be an amazing night.
So that's
you guys are coming to that, right?
We are. Yeah. We have our tickets not in hand. But
we will obviously buy you a beer, and
I do like a beer. So.
Well,
yeah, it's good. So do I. So
I'm sure we'll end up buying merchandise, because we do like buying merchandise. Tickets and merchandise. In fact, we went to Coventry at the weekend. Don't go there a lot. Don't tell anyone. But we've been there a couple of times recently, and there's a really good little music community there. And in the centre of Coventry, there's like lifestyle area, isn't it? There's a craft brewery, and there's little art places, and there's record shops and gig venues, all in this little enclosed place. And we saw Vion, that's how you pronounce it.
Oh yeah.
One of the Irish bands. And I think it's the first time I've seen them. And I was thinking, well, I thought they'd be mainly instrumentals, but I have to say, it's one of the best indie gigs I've been to.
Yeah, I like those guys.
They were fantastic, really nice guys as well. And they said that Coventry was the best gig of the tour. I mean, they had the audience really just in their hands.
Yeah, because they Adam from Happy Robots was promoting a gig for them. Was it recently or is it coming?
Yeah, I think it was. We was out Sunday night. We went to the theatre Sunday night, didn't we, to see Aid Edmondson? So, but I think it was Sunday night. Otherwise, we'd have gone to it.
That's the book.
Nice.
Yeah, he was hilarious actually.
Yeah,
he was hilarious.
Yeah, they're a good band. They're really.
Yeah, I really like them. There's another band. Do you know New Men? Spelled N-E-W, not N-U.
Men.
Yeah, they brought out an album a couple of years ago, and the guy who writes most music, he's doing some solo thing. He pops in our chat, but I'd recommend them. They're a great band. But actually, I copy their album, and the styles kept falling off the side of the record. I'm like, what's wrong with my record player? Put it on, and then I stopped, read the actual sleeve. You play it from the inside, so you put the stylus on the inside, and it plays out. It's very cool.
I've got a Megadeth Sweating Bullets, and the B-side of that on blue vinyl plays from the outside in.
Megadeth. You keep that next to your Andy Bell collection.
Yeah, bit eclectic.
Wow.
Yeah, so but they're a good band. Rusty brought them to our attention. I think the guys are on his next album whenever that comes out. I think it's that. Yeah. So we did a night with him, one of his audiences with.
Yeah.
We had a quick play some tracks. Sounds great. Rusty, when's the album coming out? Don't know yet. It's like an album launch, but it was great that he just wanted people to hear it because he's very excited, and it will be good. So when it comes out, it'll be well worth listening to.
Yeah,
well worth listening to. I think he's got. Who else is on there? Do you remember, Mark? He's got Eric from Cult with No Name.
Yeah,
Paul.
Earl Slick's on there, Bowie's guitarist.
Oh, Steve Hodgson's on it, I think.
Yeah, Paula from TMP is on it. Like, what's the name of that girl who's got the amazing voice?
Oh yeah.
Well, Oh, that's cute.
There's a girl on it who's got the most incredible, powerful, soulful. You know when you hear a voice and it makes you cry when you hear it. It's so amazing.
Well, Sonia does that.
Sorry, say Sonia.
She makes me cry when I hear her voice.
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons. Oh, Ruby's something, Mark, isn't it?
And Ruby Taylor.
Ruby Taylor, that's
Ruby
it.
Ruby Taylor.
Yeah, Andy. Oh, what's Andy's surname? I'm having a memory lapse now. Andy, you know the guy who's
Andy Marlowe?
No, it's not Andy Marlowe. He was on the last Rusty album. We sang alone. Anyway.
Rusty would definitely speak to you. I mean, we could speak to Rusty. He'd definitely speak to you. I mean, Rusty, he was the eye of the storm, I mean, Blitz Club DJ, Spandau Ballet, Visage, all that sort of stuff. He's got some great stories. I mean, as long as you sort of like try and keep him on track and like talk about certain things. I mean, but Rusty's been there, done it. I mean, he's fantastic, Rusty. I mean, he would definitely speak to you guys.
Yeah, I must admit, he has been supportive of the station. He's always, passing people over and suggesting people, coming to shows and stuff. So
he's done that with us. He's an amazing guy, and there's Mark at Eye of the Storm. Then he go to Germany and bring Kraftwerk to London and try to sign Madonna. He did sign Madonna. I mean, he's had fingers in many pies. Did the same with Yellow.
I think Spandau Ballet was probably one of the bands when in 1980, 81, when I was like 15, 16, when all the hype with Spandau Ballet and the New Romantic and that thing was, originating from like, the Blitz Club and stuff like that. And I remember seeing all the hype and I thought Spandau Ballet, what a great name. And all, and I just thought when the album comes out, I just hope it's as good as the hype suggests, and Journey to Glory. Journey to Glory came out and cut a long story short and,
I remember seeing Chant Number 1 on Top of the Pops again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, again,
our song that.
Again, it was just another moment for.
But it says, I love the Spanish one because it says place to shoot Friday night Beetroot, and most Fridays at that time that's where I was at the Beetroot. Loved it. Beetroot, Blitz before, then the Beetroot.
I was too young.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. I was waiting for it. I just thought I'd tee you up, mate.
I feel like I can't add anything to that as well. You're on your own there. This is nice way, isn't it? To spend whatever night is it? Tuesday night.
No clue.
It's nice. Shame we're not in a pub.
Your videos. Do you find you get the same audience for the sort of icons that you get for the independent unsigned artists, or is it different audience, or is it the same people who appreciate the new bands because they love the old ones?
That's a really good question. There is a spine of people that will comment, thankfully most of them, 99.9% favourably, and they are the same people across, whether it's Beautiful Machines to Wolfgang. So, but it's funny, and I think it's one of the problems we all have. Some people aren't as inquisitive as we'd like them to be. So, we'll do an interview with Billy Curry and get 20,000 views. You do an interview with Beautiful Machines, you get 600, and you go, why? Look, it's not from me or Mark to criticise people or say, but you kind of go, so you watched that episode and loved it, but this band's really cool. And I know it's a common theme. I've done lots of research on this where you see some YouTube channels where they've got, 30,000 subscribers and then one episode gets 300 views. And you go, well, what are the other 29,700 people doing? But I'd say there's definitely a Mark, tell me if you think, but there's definitely a spine of people that are pretty united, and I could probably name 100 of them which is really sweet, that always say that was great, I love this band, or thank you for introducing us to that band, can't wait to see the Andy McCluskey interview. So there is a small spine of solidarity, and then they say when we get the big names the numbers do go, and then when they get the me, but it's like if 500 more people have found a band that didn't know them before, I'm all right with that. I'm annoyed the other 20,000 or 10,000 that watched the mid-year interview, for example, didn't watch it, but we can't force them to watch it, but it is frustrating because we just think, well, they're missing out because the only reason we got this band, and the same with you guys, your radio shows, we think it's really cool and we just want you to fall in love with them,
But you do, I mean, Andy said it's right. I mean, you guys must see it as well. You do get a spine of people that watch a show because they like music. I mean, for me, and certainly for Andy, it's like there's a friend of mine called Rob, a friend of ours called Rob, and he said, you and Andy are like a couple of truffle pigs for music, which
Good name for a band, actually.
Yeah, which like is like spot on because you kind of like we're always like looking for the next thing, and we want to just introduce like people to new music, but there is a spine of people that watch it, and then you might do Billy Curry, and then someone will say you should interview Midure, and it's like, well, we have look back through the, you know, have a look back through like the channel, and you'll see we have interviewed Midure. But
or we've had people on their Facebook channel and going, oh, what? So, was it? Oh, we didn't know you had a YouTube show as well. Well, that's the thing that we thought drove you to the Facebook page. So, yeah, you know, it's. I'm sure you get.
But yeah, I mean, we would have been happy with 100 people seeing our first episode, and if we had 100 people, we introduced them to new music, that would have been good for us. So, you know, now you look at numbers and you're battling with algorithms and you're trying to do what, you know, trying to get it out to as many people as possible. But fundamentally, we just want to try and share our enthusiasm and just introduce new music. You know, also, you know, tip the hat to where it came from. You know, the New Orders, the Bowie, you know, even JJ Jexilic from, you know, Art of Noise. I mean, you know,
he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, for us, yeah, I remember as a keyboard player in the 80s, Frankie, all that stuff, and seeing the name JJ Jexilic on everything from ZTT with JJ Jexilic on it. Never in a million years did I ever think that I would meet him or have a chat with him. And it's just like sharing, you know, we just want to share what we're listening to, and people, you know, there's no guarantee that people are going to love what we're listening to, but then it just might turn some people on to what we're listening to. Maybe, I don't know, like these new bands.
Yeah, we get more. I mean, I'm sure it's the same with you. You do get the odd idiot that turns up on the YouTube channel with comments and you go, why? But most people, thankfully, are really loving, supportive, and, you know, we've got really friendly, and we've got a great community on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And actually the Facebook page now is much more, me and Mark contribute to it, but there's thousands of people just sharing stuff. It's almost like an overload now, which is great, and that's the whole reason we did it. You know, it's like, hey, check this out, because as Mark says, we love doing that, but we've awakened or brought people that are similar to us four going, check this out, it's great, you know. And I bought a couple of albums recently based on, not from my discovery or Mark's, because Mark and I normally recommend a lot of stuff, but from other people now, which is great. You know, it's just nice to go and find new music. There was a funny story. There's a guy called John Williams and his mate. We saw him at Tiny Magnetic Pets. They've become friends now, but we saw him at Tiny Magnetic Pets, and John's quite a big, imposing lad, and he was staring at me and Mark for ages. And I said to Mark, why are those guys staring at us? So I sort of walked over and and said, hey, dude, I just can't help noticing you keep looking at me and my buddy Mike. Are you all right? He went, oh yeah, you're Andy, aren't you, from the Electronic Cafe? I went, yeah. How you doing? He went, oh, really good to meet you. He goes, my wife hates you. And I went, I've never met your wife. He went, no. And then he started laughing. He went, no, you and Mark, the music you recommend is so good, and I'll buy all the albums you recommend. And because I'm spending so much money, that's why she hates you. Now we've become good friends. I didn't know he was going to, but it's just nice that we're so we know that what we're doing is working to a certain amount of people. As Mark says, it's not everyone in the world, but yeah, it's a few thousand people that go, I like that, or I do like that, or thanks for recommending that. And I said, I mean, we've had Alison, we did a thing on Yazoo, and Mark told me that Alison had tweeted about it, which was great, and Newman tweeted something about us. But the comment that meant more to me than anything, we did our top 30. We do a top 30 show with the Top of the Pops theme player. We hand out awards now. It's becoming quite a thing. We've had a few artists saying, oh, my dream is to get on the Electronic Cafe's top 30, which is great. But one guy said, I don't know where you guys find this music. It's absolutely amazing. I need to have an argument with my Spotify algorithm. And I turned around to Mark and said, and that's why we did this. You know, that meant more to me than anything. Yeah, it was amazing. It was such a nice. It was one person, but it was just fantastic that because for me, music's here. It's not an algorithm. It's in there, right? And it was such a nice bit of feedback.
It is amazing when you get people on like some of the radio chat threads and they say, I'd never heard of this band before. Now I've just bought the album. You think that's job done, isn't it?
And
really?
the back catalogue.
And the back catalogue.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never heard.
Exactly.
When we did a Neil Arthur interview a couple of years back, and this guy put on the thread, genuinely, he said, I'd never heard of Bramange's music before, a younger lad. I said, now I'm buying the back catalogue. It's like, really? But brilliant. That's job done, isn't it?
Yeah, and you nailed that, because you said earlier about the Gary Newman interviews and people haven't done their homework. I mean, there's so many people our age that go, oh, well, they're still making music. I'm like, oh my God, the music he's making now is probably as good, if not better, than what he's doing in the early days. And so you're right. And, you know, not only Neil's a lovely guy, but his output is ridiculous. And the quality of his material in the last 10 years is fantastic. But you're right. When people go, thanks, I didn't realise Neil was still making music. I've gone and bought, or the other way around, a young guy has gone, didn't know them. Brilliant, right? Because people like Neil deserve that, because they work so hard and make really good music.
Yeah. We've got one guy listens in his ambulance, doesn't he?
Yeah, Paramount.
Listens in his ambulance. Goes out and buys records. Says, thanks for that. I've been to these gigs because I've heard them on the shows. And you think,
that's a great thing. That's a great thing what you do, because like Satsuma, we listen to it all the time. But I mean, because you can listen to it on catch up, or you can listen to it online and stuff. You can catch up on all this like music that you guys put out there at any time that's convenient. So
most of our shows are after 6 p.m, between 6 p.m and midnight. But we in the following morning, and then they're on Mixcloud. Well, nice. So like, there's no excuse. Really.
No, exactly. I mean, you know, there's I mean, we're big fans of what you're doing. We've discovered stuff through what you guys are doing. So
bless you. And so we often creep on your YouTube to see what you're up to.
Hey, you don't need to creep. You're welcome guests. No creeping on the Electronic Cafe. Just come in and jump in.
So what's next then? What are the plans? Can you tell us any plans that you've got coming up that you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got the big gig in March, which we're going to get promoting quite aggressive. I mean, it's still 6 months away, but we're going to start pushing that needle quite a bit, and we'd like to do them more regularly. So there was a reason that we made it in March, Electronic Cafe Live Volume 1, and this one's Volume 2. So we want to keep doing that. I want to make sure we don't get too fast with it though, because doing the bigger show we're doing now with the artists, and with these artists all coming in from different parts of the world, Germany and Ireland, you've got the costs go up quite considerably. So, and we luckily we got a bit of sponsoring from the guys from Blitz that are helping promote it, and they're amazing guys. Guys from Blitz and me and Mark want to make it bigger, and I think that becomes a potential, conversation down the line to. I guess I'd love at some point to find a sponsor like, I don't know, and I'm making this up, and there's no plans on this, but someone like a Samsung or Universal to sponsor an Electronic Cafe festival at some point, whenever, if that could be a possibility. That'd be a dream. And then with the shows, just keep looking at how we can make it better, keep trying to get more big names on, keep our ears out for new bands we want to get on. There's a couple of bands we're talking to now that are going to be coming on between now and Christmas, hopefully. I mean, after years running away from us fast. So, and we've got a couple of bands lined up for next year already. Actually, I need to talk to you about it separately, Mark, getting that locked in. And then keep working with Blitz magazine, and hopefully, working with people, like-minded people. That's the thing for us.
Yeah, we always do.
Yeah, we always.
We're the same. We're the same. We're exactly the same. The amount of artists go, great interview, guys. We'll give you a couple of tickets for the next gig, and me and Mark like, we've already bought them. Well, we'll give you a free album. No, we've already got it. It's just like we're not doing it for that. We're doing it because we love the guys we're talking to.
You're supporting the bands, and we always say, they say, like, we'll put you on the guest list. Say no when they say, like, we've got best friends of ours. Always says, well, we'll put you on the guest list, and we go, all right, put us on the guest list, but we're going to buy all your merch when we come down. So we're going to buy the albums and the t-shirts and the tote bags if you insist. We do that anyway, wouldn't we? But
yeah, definitely.
What about you guys? What have you guys got lined up?
Well, we're doing our difficult second album, which is proving to be fantastic, I have to say. In fact, Peter Dougal is doing a remix.
Is he?
Yeah, Carlos Perron's done one. Who else we got? Can't remember. Mr. Strange.
Technomancer.
Quick question: your favourite gig ever? I know. I have got one. I never thought it'd be that easy, but it was so easy when I went.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, you know exactly what it is.
Can I have two?
Yeah. Hey, it's your show.
Okay. Well, one of them is Erasure. The other one is when OMD first got back together, because when I discovered OMD and Erasure and Yazoo and Erasure aside, everybody else had already split up. I'm like, I'm never going to get to see any of these bands that I've discovered as a slightly older fan. And then they got back together. So the first tour that they did when they got back together, and I had I just used to go to gigs on my own, and I went down to Glasgow, which was a big event because although it wasn't that far away, it's far enough away that you can't just get there and back in one day if you're, at school or whatever. So everything involves traveling and staying over, so it's a big occasion. And I'm front row, OMD, come on, and I'm just
wow.
So yeah, and then Erasure, obviously, but I've seen them loads of times. But we went to see them
yeah, that was good.
The Neon tour.
Oh, the Neon tour, yeah.
In Birmingham, but because it was the first time we had seen Erasure together.
It was the first time I'd ever seen Erasure.
Yeah, and the sound quality was just incredible.
I thought they're going to be. I've seen so much footage of bands like Visage and bands, when Rusty wasn't in it, and you think, oh, I wished I'd sort of seen that. And I was expecting that, and I was absolutely stunned how good they were.
Yeah,
the show was just amazing. Unlike the festival.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
What about you guys? What's yours?
Go on, Mark.
There's some I remember seeing, not Electric, I remember seeing U2 do Zoo TV, which was all the first real video screens with Trabants and the cars and everything. And their Pop Mart tour was visually was astounding. But again, I mean, the first gig ever, probably Ultravox Hammersmith Podium. Duran Duran back in '81 doing their first album. Talk Talk was supporting. I mean, they were great days. I mean, just so many. I'm sure Depeche Mode in the early days. I don't know.
What's the one?
Probably forgotten.
It's changed already.
I mean, I've got some classic gig stories, but I mean, I saw Dave Sylvian for one song.
Oh, well, that's the story we have to tell you when we meet you in London.
Yeah, that's quite funny. But I'd still probably say Duran Duran '81 Hammersmith Odeon.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands I saw around that time. I saw the Vienna tour, Japan, Yellow Magic Orchestra, all brilliant. But about 3 years ago, I literally dragged my wife to see David Byrne with the American Utopia tour at the O2. Oh my God, my jaw still drops when I think about it. It was just, the man is an absolute genius. The choreography, his back catalogue, the way the band was in motion for the whole show. I don't know if you've seen it, guys. It's on Sky Arts, the New York event. It's the same show, but when they did it in New York. But and she said, "I'm so glad I came to this." We were just buzzing. I mean, Siggy Roz at Ali Pally was amazing. I saw The Cure in Athens, in one of the old amphitheaters and stuff like that. I've been very fortunate. I've been to South by Southwest 3 times in Austin, seen Duran Duran play in a beer garden with Iggy Pop and TV on the radio. But that David Byrne gig, just honestly, it was just so damn clever. And his voice, I mean, he was 68 then, and he sounded great. He sounded really good. And I love Talking Heads anyway. And I love the fact there's this buzz about them all getting back together because they've just remastered Stop Making Sense. It's the one band I didn't see that I would. If there's the biggest regret of bands I could have seen live, like friends of mine, I remember having tickets for Joy Division, I didn't go, but if there's one band I could see now that's still alive and could do it, it'd be Talking Heads. I'd love, I mean, because they influenced so many bands like LCD Sound System and so many others like that. Yeah, that was my greatest gig ever. And like you guys, I've been to thousands on Prince and Depeche, and I could go on and on, but there was just something about that gig that just resonated with me and my wife. It was just incredible. And
What's yours, Kurt?
It's one of my gigs.
Love that.
It's actually probably the best gig of my life ever, I think.
Love that.
No, it was when Adamant asked us to support on a tour in 2010. And it was a bizarre thing because Adam had he'd been inside for a little while recuperating, and I was having conversations with this who I now know was Adamant, but I thought was an absolute nutter, and stalking me on Facebook at 7 o'clock every morning and saying, I love your album and I want to meet you and stuff. And I was like, yeah, right. And I noticed on the bottom, I went into the settings in Facebook and I saw an email address and it was misscrazycurls@aol.com. And I messaged and said, all right, the game's up. What are you playing at? You know I'm an Ant fan. Why are you fucking about? And she went, no, I really am. Adam doesn't use computers and I'm in the ward with him. I'm visiting him. I think she wasn't visiting. I think she was with him. And he does want to meet you. And I said, you're all right, whatever. So I went along with it. Anyway, cut a long story short, I ended up meeting this would-be murderer in London at a coffee shop. And I still wasn't convinced I was ever going to meet Adam. And then she said, no, he's at an art gallery down the road in Chelsea. And I was going, of course he is. But I went along with it. And then went into this art gallery. And I stood outside a toilet door and I heard Adamant's voice coming out of the toilet going, he was on the phone. I don't know what he was saying now. He was just arguing with someone. And he came out and this little man came out and it was Adamant. Anyway, so we ended up doing the gig. And for the few months that a few weeks he'd been out, he'd been doing little gigs around London. Literally, there was an A board outside with a chalk thing on saying Adamant Tonight, TONITE. No one was going because they thought it was a tribute act. And he was preparing for what he called his world tour of London. So,
wow.
And still, when he said, "Would you open for me?" Not only would I open for him, but would I play some of his tracks, but with synths? And it's like, this is just getting really weird.
Wow.
So I said, "Yeah, of course I will. Yeah, whatever." So I dragged a guitarist in. So we did this, and it was the Scala at Islington.
No, no, Scala. Yeah.
And with this big curtain on there, and there's loads of smoke. We're due to come on stage. I'd peeked behind the curtain. There was no one in. 5 minutes before we went on, looked out. There was no one in. So then I said to Pete, "We got to go on, mate. Just treat it like a rehearsal. We got to go on." So curtains came back. 1,100 people. and we did this show playing Adamant's tracks with synths to Adamant audience, and we ended Dog Eat Dog, the first one. You could hear a pin drop.
Can't beat that, mate. That's unbelievable.
We was booked to. You might need to correct me on this. We was booked to play. It was a convention or something, an Adamant convention, and it was at the. Do you know where Blur filmed the Common People video?
I played that night.
Well, I was on the bill that night.
Were you?
And we got kicked off because there was too many bands on the bill.
Oh.
So
I could have got you in. That was the first Ant convention that I did. It was at the Eve Club, Piccadilly.
Yeah. And we was on the bill that night, and we'd learned Viva La Rock and all that sort of stuff electronically and stuff. But there was too many bands on, and we was last ones on the bill, and we was first ones kicked off. But yeah. But then I met Adamant at Waterstones when he was signing his book, and I got there with a friend of our old guitarist Darren, and we got there and there was thousands queuing around the block.
Yeah.
And we sort of stood at the door and just thought, "Oh, what should we do?" And we heard the woman say, "Well, I'm telling people to go in and buy the book now because they might run out." And so I said to Darren, "Let's go in and buy the book, then join the queue." As we went in and bought the book, they ushered us up with all the press and stood us next to the desk where he was doing the signing. So we'd gone from standing outside, going to be the back of the queue, to suddenly plonked next to the desk. And I mean, I was a massive Adam and the Ants fan, and he kind of walked in and he was quite timid and kind of had his bandana on, and I think he was just out of hospital or whatever.
Sedated, heavily sedated.
Yeah. And I was thinking like, this flamboyant kind of icon swinging on chandeliers like the 80s, like this thing, and there was this kind of this really softly spoken kind of quiet guy that came in, and it was just like, for me it was a real moment, because Adam and the Ants, I always remember before iPods were, with my record player with the multi-stacker, just sitting in my bedroom just playing all the Adam and Ants singles. It's like, it's like my little playlist. It's a shame. We could have been on the same bill all those years ago.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What an experience.
But when we go to see bands, I always like to look at who the support act is anyway.
I likewise.
And I like it when they make an effort. I like it when they talk to the audience, rather than they come on and give you the big I am and all the shifty look.
Yeah.
Just be yourselves,
Yeah, there's I always go to see the support bands, because you get so many people, we're going late, I don't want to see the support band, but you might discover something really cool. That's the whole point, right? And it's funny, there's a band, actually I'd already discovered this band, but I went and saw Hot Chip, and they had a band called Simon Spine supporting. If you don't know those guys, spelled PSYMON, amazing band. And I did a thing on the Hot Stuff section with Mark about them, and they were really sweet. They messaged us and said, "You guys really get us. That's exactly what you said about us is spot on. So they're going to come out next year. We're going to get them on." But they supported, and I brought my mate, and he went, "I've never heard of them." I said, "Come, you got to see them." And he went and bought the album straight away. Went downstairs and came back with the vinyl. He went, "They're amazing." So you're absolutely right. There's always see the support bands, because you never know what you're going to see.
Well, just keep what you're doing. Keep doing more of it.
Yeah, we want to, mate. We want, and likewise, you guys.
Likewise. I mean, we love what you're doing.
I love it. That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. No, guys, like that. Look, we're all coming from the same place, right? That's why we connected so well with you guys. So, long may it continue.
Indeed.
Love what you guys do and have done in the past. I mean, it's been, we love listening to new music and what you introduced to us. So, I mean, it's a joy speaking to you both tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, can't wait to hear the new album, actually.
We've really enjoyed it. Well, we'll make sure that you get it. We've got a new single coming out with remixes. Is
that on Bandcamp, mate? Or
it'll be.
It's November.
It'll be on Bandcamp and iTunes and all the other stuff. In November, it'll be November.
But we'll send you a promo copy.
We'll send you a promo.
Thank you. But let us know the date so we can just, like, a week or so before, so we can just tell people, hey, check this out, and we'll do all we can to help you as well.
To be honest, we're hanging on a couple of remixes because we're not sure whether they're actually going to finish them or not.
Well, I think Peter Dougal's quite busy at the moment, so we're not hounding him because.
But we are going to hound him on Friday.
Well, after the was it Castle and Folk?
Castle and Folk.
After that.
He's such a nice guy, though, Peter. I mean, we didn't know him before we saw Wolfgang at the Lexington, where we met Beautiful Machines as well. We didn't know him, and me and Andy was being me and Andy, and he just said, "Look, don't worry. We spoke to him, and he said, "Look, don't worry. I'll introduce you to Wolfgang," and he got it. You know what I mean? He's just like really nice.
Absolute gem of a man.
We're so glad that not only have we got Wolfgang at Electronic Cafe 2, but Wolfgang's playing as well, doing a set as well. So I mean, he's a lovely guy, great artist, great producer as well.
Yeah.
And we'll see you there as well. But obviously, we'll see you very soon.
Yeah,
we'll do. Thanks very much. Really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Really nice to meet you. Cheers, Bridget. Cheers, Kurt. See you soon.